Come on down, step right in. Carol's Kitchen, where we begin. See what's cooking, something new. Plant-based power just for you. Delicious meals on every plate. Healthy choices feeling great. Inspiration in every dish. Taste the magic, it's our wish. Power to the plants we sing. Health for you, it's everything. Cooking up a storm in there. Carol's Kitchen, love and care. Education one bite at a time. Nourishing the heart and mind. Join the journey, let's unite. Pure plant power feels so right. Power to the plants we sing. Health for you, it's everything. Cooking up a storm in there. Carol's Kitchen, love and care.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cooking with Chef Carole. Oh my God, it's so good to be back. Hard to believe it's October and it is raining here in New York City, which I'm sure you don't need to worry about. Certainly not for the next hour and a half. I am happy to welcome you to our monthly series. We're presented by Plant-Powered Metro New York, and we are co-sponsored by the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. So a special welcome to all of you. And let's see, I know that this is amazing information you've been receiving. Oh, this is for the Jumpstart people. If anyone from the former Jumpstart is with us, I know you've been receiving information, and this is a continuation of our monthly cooking show. Speaking of the Jumpstart, Plant-Powered Metro is about to launch another Jumpstart at the end of October. You need to register by October 20th. So if any of you listening have friends or family who are curious and want to learn how to shift their diet from the standard American diet into a whole food plant-based diet, this is the place to do it. It's a phenomenal program, and you can go to the website and see information about the Jumpstart. Who are we, Plant-Powered Metro New York? We are a not-for-profit organization that empowers people to achieve better health and overcome chronic disease through a whole food, plant-based approach to nutrition. We offer evidence-based education, resources, and a grassroots network to support and create community and to inspire change in our food space. Together as leaders and organizers, we raise awareness about the dramatic health benefits of whole food plant-based nutrition, empower individuals to make their own lifestyle adjustments, lead projects that spark changes in food policy, practice, and culture, and host monthly cooking shows, among all the other things that we do. So, October, there's still plenty of fruits and vegetables in the farmers markets here in the Northeast. There's peppers and eggplants and squashes have been coming out. Tomatoes, it's just a season for all the delicious fall vegetables. You're about to see Carole use them. And I'm excited because I think we might even have a glimpse of Carole's garden, because today's show is Off the Cuff with Chef Carole. And what does that mean? It means that Carole is using things from her garden, things from her refrigerator, things she happens to have around to create the menu for this afternoon. Which also reminds me, do take out a paper and pen, because in our Off the Cuff series, we don't have any recipes. So none of you will have received recipes. We're not doing them because Carole is showing really a much more organic way of cooking, which is looking to see what you have and using the ingredients either in your garden, in your fridge, in your pantry, whatever you have on hand. So take out pen and paper and be ready to write things down, because as usual, she's very descriptive when she does things. A few quick announcements. Plant-Powered Metro is offering several events this month, some very, very exciting. One, the Jumpstart, which is our signature event. But two, tomorrow we're having an information session online, I believe, for plant-based living in it's for our Spanish-speaking audience. So if you have people who speak Spanish and would prefer the information delivered in Spanish, that's an event tomorrow night. October 16th, we have also a very exciting event called Eating for Impact, Plant-Based Cuisine for Human and Planetary Health. I believe we're partnering with the Kellen Foundation based in Pennsylvania. They are amazing and highly suggest you tune in. And then October 17th, we're doing something that may interest you, the cooks around here, Healthy Swaps. It's a easy exchange for managing blood sugar, what you can switch out one thing for another. And then at the end of the month, something that interests me personally very much, October 29th from 7 to 8, another virtual event, a show called, or a presentation called Nutrition and Blood Cancers, Insights from Emerging Research. I'm going to just say I have a very dear friend. He is been diagnosed with lymphoma. Please say good wishes and prayers because it is a blood cancer. And I'm sending as many good vibes to him as I possibly can. So join me in that if you can. Okay, back to the cooking show. Guidelines, please let us know where you're from in the chat. Also, please ask questions in the chat. We usually allow time during the demo, and if not, we'll save a few minutes to answer as many questions as we can. And please, if you're enjoying the presentation, like us on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you're watching from. So pen and paper, get yourself ready. Carole, what's on the menu?
Oh, Wendy, I'm so excited about today. And you know, I love doing this sort of thing. Just opening my fridge and saying, what am I going to make? What am I going to make? Because that, I think, is the way most of us cook a lot of the time. And recipes do have a purpose, right? I certainly cook from a lot of recipes, but it's nice to just be able to be inspired, open your fridge, and just make something. So today, I have a lot to say, but I want to get something in the oven right away. I've done very little prep today. So I just want to, before I introduce everything that I'm doing, I just want to say that I have all these tomatoes, okay? This is one day of harvesting in my garden, okay? Just one day. And I've been eating tomatoes for weeks now, but I don't think I'm going to be canning them. And I've just been making sauce and making salads, and I've been just consuming tomatoes. And today what we're going to do is we're just going to cut like 5 of these big tomatoes. 5 might be too many, I'm not quite sure, but I'm just saying 5. I've done 4, and maybe I'm going to do more, one kind of medium sized, but they were all pretty large. And we're just going to put them in the oven. And we did this last time when we were together, when I roasted some tomatoes, okay? It's something that I love doing. It gives the flavors a lot more flavor when you put it in the oven. You can do it 2 different ways. Today we're going to cook them on a high heat because I want them to cook rather fast. So a high heat means that the oven is set for 400 degrees, and we'll look at them in about 20 minutes or so and see how they're doing. The other thing is you could cook them very slowly in like a 325 degree oven, which kind of just melds the flavors very slowly. I often do that for if I'm making a marinara sauce, and it just cooks down. And I often will add some garlic, sometimes chili flakes, sometimes a sprig of basil. But today, for this very moment, we just have a casserole pan. I'm putting in some tomatoes, and you're going in the 400 degree oven. And hopefully they cook fast enough for us today because I haven't done anything in advance. Wendy mentioned that you should have paper and pen. What we're doing today has lots of substitutions, so it will be good. I'll try to give rough measurements for you, but I don't think that you're going to be terribly lost without any recipes. So I'm interested in kind of setting the scene here in the sense that many of you know, I don't live in New York anymore, and I'm in Taos, New Mexico, and I'm very conscious of about growing things in the yard because I have spent many months and working in the garden. And Jim, if you want to show the garden pictures now, it would be okay to do that. We saw them last week. We're getting very close to harvesting everything here because usually by the end of October, we will have a freeze. And so almost everything will have to come in, except for the kale can take the first couple freezes, can take a little dusting of snow. The kale is very strong, but any tomatoes that are not ripened have to come in. They'll all get ripened on the dining room table. All the dill, all the herbs have to get picked and dried. All the broccoli has to get picked. So all the things have to get picked. So how does this, I'm harvesting, and it's significant for harvesting right now because we're in a Jewish holiday right now that is called a festival. It's a Sukkot happens, many of you might know about the high holidays that we just finished, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Sukkot happens 5 days after the Yom Kippur. It's a festival holiday. It's supposed to be joyous. It's about a celebration of the harvest, and it is also a holiday that commemorates the miracles that occurred in the desert when the Jews were traveling out of Egypt, and they were traveling for 40 years and they had temporary shelters, and it's to remember that we have protection in these temporary shelters, and we build little sukkots that are beautiful framed little boxes, little houses that you eat meals in and you sleep in, and you decorate them with fruits and vegetables. So today, after the demo, I'm actually going to a Sukkot party. And then I also want to talk about tomorrow is a holiday here. It's not a federal holiday, but our banks are closed here in Taos and maybe many other places. It is Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow, and it is a day which celebrates Native American culture and heritage. So we are going to be making a soup that is very much Native American. And it is called Three Sisters. And why is the soup called Three Sisters? Well, it has to do with the ingredients that we're using, and we're going to use a squash, we are going to use corn, and we are going to use beans, which I've already cooked. Okay, now there's a lot of substitutions, and as I start to make the soup, we'll talk about substitutions. If you are desperate for a real written recipe, you can go online, and there are an infinite amount of variations on the soup. There's not just one kind of Three Sisters soup. There's a lot of different kinds because there's different tribal ways of making it, and people make it different in different regions, and people make it different in different seasons. But the key ingredients have to be squash, corn, and beans. So we're doing that. And then we're going to eventually make a tabbouleh with a quinoa. And we'll talk about that, but let's just get started on all the things we need to do. The first thing that I'm going to do is I really want to get this squash peeled, but we are going to talk a little bit about, and the reason I want to go back to talking about the Three Sisters and where they come from. It is said certain things grow better together. And maybe some of you know that, like if you plant tomatoes, sometimes you plant dill or you plant basil underneath them, and that helps ward away some of the bugs, right? When you're growing tomatoes. These three ingredients, corn, beans, and squash, and the corn grows vertically, right? And what happens is the corn provides a lot of support for the beans to grow to grow around the verticalness of the corn. And then I'm looking at my notes. The beans add soil fertilizer to the soil. And then the squash is, and the squash can be winter squash. Today we're using butternut squash. It can be kabocha, it can be acorn, it can be any kind of squash. And if it were in the summer, you would use zucchini instead. And there's many kinds of zucchini. But the zucchini helps keep the ground moist, and the big leaves protect the beans. Okay, so you can imagine how beautiful that is when you have the vertical corn, you have the beans providing going around the corn stalk, and then you have these squashes that are spreading out. So that is called companion planting, and I just wanted to share that with you. Do I grow corn? Not quite yet, but I will be trying that next summer. So we are going to talk about the broth that is going to go in this soup. I just made this broth like an hour and a half ago because I was trimming the corn off the stalk. And inside of this pot, I filled it with water and I put some of the tops. Now, crazily enough, I do have to show you this crazy thing. I've been planting scallions all summer long. Every time I cut off an end, I collect them and I run outside, put them in the dirt, and weeks later I have a scallion. But I have managed to let some of them in the ground for so long that they're becoming gigantic, and they're starting to be looking like leeks. This would have been a scallion. Here is more what we know as a scallion, something small. But look, they're practically the same thing. So I had very many big green leaves today. So I put the green leaves in here. I cut up an onion that was also from my garden. It was about this size. And I put the skin as well as the first layer of onion in this stalk. I put a few tomatoes that weren't so great looking. I put the tomatoes in here as well. I put a carrot in here as well, just one. And what I want to talk to you about is we talk about making broth all the time. But there are sometimes you can make broth that is specific to your soup. So, and we've talked about that before, like if you were making a ginger butternut squash soup, you could use the ginger in your broth along with the trimmings of the squash. Today, I added the corn into this, as well as I started to peel the butternut squash, and some of that went in here as well. And this stock is going to be specific to this soup. You could use it for another sauteing of something or make another something, but we try to keep the broth neutral most of the time so that it can go with anything. But there are these times that you can make it very specific when you're cutting your vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I have a big bowl. Okay, and we need to get this pot because it's full. I have a colander, and I'm just going to carefully pour all of this broth. Hopefully I've made enough. I think there's at least, usually for a soup, you need about 6 to 8 cups. I'm going to take out this very big corn because it's not going to fit so nicely in the thing. I have a few carrots in here that I'm going to pull out eventually. Why am I going to pull the carrots out? Because I cut those up and I give them to my little girl, Isla, my dog, that many of you already know. You see, here's the green. And we're not even going to wash this pot because it's ready to go. And we're just going to set it on and we're going to start cooking in a very few minutes. This gets drained. And I'm just going to keep this here. All of that will go to the compost, right? And then you get this very beautiful broth. You see how colorful it is, has no salt in it, just basically flavored water. Okay. Now, Wendy, you and I were talking earlier that you want to make broth sometimes, but you have almost a mental hang up, a little bit of a mental hang up. And I like to just talk about that with you because you're such a good cook about the way you approach things. And we talked about it a little bit, but do you want to talk about it a little bit? Why?
Sure. I was just saying, I'm born and raised in cities, and I'm born and raised washing vegetables all the time, and rarely ever get my hands dirty, even at the farmers markets, because when they sell things at the farmers markets, it's usually been pre-washed, and the carrots don't have the dirt on them anymore.
Yeah.
City living is particularly clean, and of course, I'm a big believer in the soil. So I'm really glad you talked, Carol, about how all the vegetables came from the garden, and I just love all of that. But I don't make my own stock. I'm embarrassed to say, and Carol and I were saying it because I just feel like the ends of things I'm used to putting in the compost and not using them to cook. And some of it has to do with not making the connection that the ends of things, like the ends of onions and the ends of carrots and the celery leaves and all that, are it's not just about the cleanliness, because I have usually washed them, but that's
Yes.
not meant for cooking. And then I kind of collect them in a bowl, thinking I'm going to make them into a stock, and then I just go and compost them, and I don't
I
want.
understand. I totally get it, Wendy, and I think it's a good opportunity for people to write in now to say what they do, because I think you're not the only one. I know other people that have a hang up, and I find it so natural, so easy that I can't even imagine like throwing away these ends half the time. Sometimes I go into the refrigerator and I hunt down all the ends, if I don't have a bag in the freezer. Sometimes I have a friend that is learning to collect things and put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, but she forgets they're in there. So, it's so today is a good example, Wendy, of when you're making something, the stock starts at the exact same time that you're starting to prep. So I put on a pot of water immediately. And as soon as I started cutting the onion, the skin went in. As soon as I started taking the corn off the cob, that went in. I was anxious to peel the butternut squash so that could go in. I had a few tomatoes that weren't of perfection and they needed to get just cooked, so tomatoes went in. I grabbed a carrot out of the fridge and I washed it off, and yes, there's sometimes dirt, but we clean it off and it's fine.
I love we seem to have lost Carol in picture, but I was going to say what I love is the ease with which Carol describes all that. I would have said it to her directly. Hopefully we'll get her back on.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, I had a do not disturb on and the phone call came through anyway. Not sure
oh,
why that happens.
good.
But I just
Carol,
turned it
what I was
off,
gonna
so
say
sorry.
is I love the ease with which you just described that, because yes, if I started the water at exactly the same time I was cutting everything, it's easy to put it in the water. It's like no big deal.
Exactly. So I guess it's just practice, Wendy, like anything, right? Just like you're a really good shopper. I always say, Wendy, you're a really good shopper, because you get everything. And I just think that is practice, right? You can't become a really good shopper unless you do it all the time and you practice and you run into the store and you know what you like and you grab it all and you
True.
know the things that need to go in your refrigerator. So
Exactly.
I'm
And
just going to tell you that practicing making the stock is so much better. And of course, if you're lazy and don't want to do it, you can buy the box stuff. But the box stuff is often not very delicious and also salty often and doesn't have a lot of flavor.
I,
And like I said, you've made an investment into your vegetables. So you're just extending your investment.
I love that. And I love what you said about extending them, because I think that's absolutely true. So the planet conscious person in me, the environmental conscious person, would I'm going to start doing it. And speaking of shopping, though, we got a beautiful comment from Carole Klawonsky, who, by the way, I just want to shout out, has not missed a single cooking show, which is just amazing. You've been here more than I have, Carole. Anyway, she says she doesn't use enough broth. She's like me, I think, cooks for herself. She says, I don't use enough broth to make her own. But she found some salt, oil, sugar-free broth powders, she
Oh,
says, that are not great, but they save her a lot of time. And both are from Well Your World, which is a company that makes a lot of vinegars and sauces, and it's a well-known company in the whole food plant-based.
oh, I love that. I hope you guys can put that in the chat
Yep,
because
it's in
I
the
don't
chat.
even know
Thank
that
you, Carole.
company. I
Yeah,
don't even know that company. Thank you for mentioning it, Carole. I love Carole because she's, as Wendy said, not missed a show. She's amazing in that way and dedicated to being here. And it's good to have alternatives, right? And I have a friend that uses these little bouillon cubes. I'm not sure where they come from or what they are, but she uses that as her way of making broth, and it's good, but it has some salt in it. So I just want to say one thing off the broths. The butternut squash I peeled, maybe you've been watching. This one doesn't have one of those kind of pear-like shapes that's usually long with a neck and then it has a big bottom. This one was pretty straight and I picked it for its straightness because what happens sometimes when it's big and bold at the bottom, which is a nice shape, but that often the meat isn't there. The seeds are at the bottom usually, and you get the most meat from the neck. So but here I got a lot of meat already. I'm very impressed. I think I might see. I'm just here. The seeds. You see the cavity of the seeds here is very small, and I think it is really due to the shape that I picked. And I don't know. I'm very. And I do want to tell everyone that you can buy frozen butternut squash that's already cut up. You can buy cut up butternut squash often at any grocery store. I see it all the time. I just saw it yesterday when I was at a Trader Joe's. I don't live near a Trader Joe's, but I get to go to one once in a while in Santa Fe. And I saw cut up butternut squash. They even had butternut squash that looked like French fries, all crinkled. So I'm just telling you, you don't have to get a fresh squash like I did and go to the time of cutting it when you could just go. I know Fairway has in New York. I used to buy, it was already cut up and wrapped in saran wrap and just in a plastic container. So how much butternut squash do I actually have? I'm guessing that I have probably 2 cups. I know you're all going to wonder about how much I have. We don't really know. I'm getting a measuring cup here. If you hear any crying going on in the background, my little girl Isla is sitting literally underneath my feet as if she thinks I'm going to drop something. I'm not sure if I'm what she thinks is happening, but she's literally sitting right underneath me. So if you hear whining or crying, it's not anything to be worried about. She just is wanting to be with me. I don't think we're going to cut the rest of this. What would I do with the rest of this eventually? I would cut it and probably roast it and serve it during the week. But for now, we're just going to keep it right there. The seeds in here, you would take out, then you would rinse them and you would get all the pulp off of them. And you can roast those and eat them. That's what pumpkin seeds are, and they're very delicious. And I'm going to move this big tray of tomatoes. We're going to come back to this later. This tray of tomatoes that we have. My goal is very much to get those tomatoes used up. Okay, so for this soup, again, we're using the corn, the beans, and I'm kind of have little notes that I've made to myself. So we're starting out right what I call a normal way of cooking soup, which is we're starting out with onions and we're going to saute them. But we don't have anything in here at all. No oil because we're not using oil. I've just diced what I'm calling a medium-sized onion, small dice, and it's going to go in there. Okay. And that is our onion. Now we do need a little bit of broth, just a little bit, because that's how we're going to saute. We talk about using water or broth to saute instead of the oil. So we're going to use a little bit of broth. And where is my broth? Oh, way over here. It's so pretty. I bet it tastes delicious too. I'm going to, I tasted it earlier, but I added a few more things as I was prepping and things. Just going to taste it. It's so flavorful. Like, I'm not kidding you. You could eat this just like this and just float some vegetables. You could put some kale in it just like that and some vegetables. It's so delicious. I cannot explain to you. So I'm going to pour just a little bit in there just to get this going. We want to saute, okay? And we've got to get a right spoon. And we're just sauteing, and we're going to add some garlic eventually too. The pan isn't as hot as I really want it. It's not sizzling quite yet, but it will in a minute. I should have turned it on just slightly earlier. And I have chopped up a bunch of garlic that is from my garden. I'm getting ready actually to plant garlic for next season. And at the end of the month, we plant the garlic. And then I actually get it in the ground, and I kind of give the soil, like I make a bed with straw, and then I put a layer of paper over, like a just paper, and I put rocks, and I make it so it stays warm inside and underneath the paper. You could put cardboard over, and you want to keep all the nutrients in the soil for the snow before the snow all comes. Anyway, so I'm very excited. I'm getting ready to plant the garlic, but I have to harvest everything first so I can decide where the garlic is gonna be planted for the next season. And the garlic that I plant in November is not going to be ready till July of next year. It's so super crazy to think about that, but still very excited. Wendy, you said you're very much a city girl. I've been a city girl my entire life. So for me, this is new joy that I have because I've always loved cooking so much, and to have the food right at my fingertips has just been an experience that I never thought that I could make actually. and yeah, so it's kind of fun. I chopped up a lot of garlic, and I'm going to say that we're going to use 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, and approximately 1 clove of garlic is 1 teaspoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure, because I know all of you want to know amounts. So I'm putting in 2 teaspoons, which theoretically should be 2 cloves. Okay. That's what nothing is a science today. Cooking is not, baking is a science, but cooking, making a stew, there's room for some error. There's also room for your own taste buds and what you like. I mean, you know me, I'm going to want to have the soup a little spicy, but maybe you're not, so you're not going to add so many spices. So we talked about the corn and that I took it off the cob. It is October. This corn is not perfect, I have to tell you. I would like it a little sweeter. It tastes a little starchy to me, but it's okay. I want to tell you that a very good substitute, and today I'm going to not use the hominy as a substitute, but I'm actually going to use it in combination with the corn. And there is this thing called hominy. I have it in my cabinet. It's way deep in the cabinet. But basically, I'll just take out and show you that it is corn that has been nixtamalized, and it puffs up. So it's dried corn. It looks like a tooth, literally the size of a tooth. Can everyone see it? And you can buy hominy in a can, just like you buy canned beans. You would want to drain the water, and it's already cooked and made for you. You can also buy hominy in the freezer, just like you would buy frozen broccoli or the frozen butternut squash, and it would already be cooked. So you don't have to. Why do I cook my own? Because it makes the house literally smell like a wet corn tortilla. And I love the smell of corn so much that when I was cooking this, I did soak it just like beans. I soaked it overnight and then I cooked it until it was puffed up and soft. Okay. So we use it here in the Southwest in pozole. Many of you know we've made pozole before. So today I'm going to use a combination actually of the hominy and the corn, both. But only, you don't need to use a combination. It can be one or the other. Okay. I also talked about that we're going to use some beans. And you can use any kind of bean you want. You can use a white cannelli bean. Some people use black-eyed peas. Some people use black beans. Today, I'm using, I saved the bag, so I would remember the name. I'm using my Rancho Gordo beans because I do have a variety. Look at, you would not believe. They're sitting right here on the counter. I have all these beans because I slowly work myself through them because we get them 6 packages every quarter in the Bean Club. These are called Rio Zappa. Rio Zape. It's a rich, dense, pinto-like bean with hints of chocolate and coffee. So I love this bean. I actually love the water that comes from the bean. We're not going to use the water today, but the beans produce such a nice broth. So here we are. We're sauteing. We just want to make the onions, they were solid white, and now they're starting to be looking translucent where we can see through them. Okay. I put the garlic already. I'm going to add the squash. I cut the squash into small cubes. It is not cooked at all. That is going to be what takes the most time to cook is this squash. We're going to also eventually add tomatoes. So here we have 2 cups, I'm going to say. And if you think I'm going to leave this behind, so I'm going to estimate that I'm putting in 3 cups. Okay, 3 cups of squash. If you're taking notes, again, it's not, it doesn't have to be exact, okay? But that's how much we're putting in, 3 cups. And we have this broth sitting here in front of us. I just want to get this also kind of starting to saute and maybe a little bit of caramelization. And like I said, this is going to be what takes the longest is the squash to cook. And we'll know that it's done just like a potato. And a potato. Could we put a potato in here? I actually thought I've seen recipes for Three Sisters that does have potatoes. And I have a very few potatoes here that are almost starting to sprout, to tell you the truth. And today is about using up what I have in the refrigerator. So why don't we put these potatoes in? I wasn't really planning on doing that, but I kind of want to do it. And what are these potatoes? You're wondering. They're actually purple potatoes, and they're really quite delicious. So I'm going to slice them. Not even going to bother peeling them. You definitely don't need to peel them. I'm going to cut them so they're almost as big as the squash, okay? They look like that. They're very beautiful. Can you see, Wendy, how pretty and purple they are? They're super pretty.
They're
And
gorgeous. I love all these fall colors. They're just beautiful. The purple.
And I'm
the
putting
orange.
it in because, I always feel like everything should be so colorful when we eat. Now, this soup was going to already have black and yellow. My beans look like they're black beans, but the Rio Zappo, they said that they're Zappa. They're more like a pinto bean. So they're a hearty bean, right? So I'm only putting in 2 potatoes. And it's just so that I can use them up, and it will be fun to find a potato in the soup, I think. You don't need to have potato, and now comes the spices. And I don't really know how much spice to use. I'm kind of making it up. I know we need a bay leaf or 2. So I have bay leaf here. And the thing about a bay leaf is these are rather small ones. You just have to remember to fish them out before you serve the soup, unless you want to serve somebody a bay leaf. I'm putting in a broken one. So that's 2 bay leaves that I'm putting in. And then for sure, you could put onion powder, you could put garlic powder, I think, but I already have fresh garlic, so I'm not using that. I think for certain we need to have cumin. And we're gonna not use the cumin seed, we're gonna use the powder. And I lost my little, oh, here's my great measurings. I have another teaspoon, I'm sure. Oh, I see it right now. I have 2 of every spoon, measuring spoon, because you always dirty one and then you need another. But I'm right here just washing and carefully drawing. So I'm going to start with 1.5 teaspoons. We might need 2 teaspoons. I'm not sure, but we're going to do 1.5. I'm being just slightly conservative. Remember, I've always told you that you're going to measure your spices over here, not over the pot. We have steam happening over here, and you don't want moisture going into your container where you keep your dry spices. And you always want to keep them in a cool, dark place, and they can last for a very long time. I want to use, I'm going to suggest, I have lots of chili powder, okay? It's based on where I live. This is Chamayo chili powder. This is Chipotle. There is chili powder that Rancho Gordo once sent me. There is Castillo, which is another Rancho Gordo, which is more of a Spanish pimento. So you want something like a chili powder, okay? So if that's all you have, I'm going to tell you use chili powder. I'm going to use chipotle, and it's just going to be a little hotter. And when I brought this home from buying it from the where we buy spices at the farm here, this chipotle smelled at my whole kitchen. It was like so distracting to me a little bit. But I'm going to put a teaspoon in. Again, we might need a little more. I don't know. And the other thing that you could put in is some smoked paprika. That might be really nice. So what I'm going to use is I have this Castillo Spanish pimento, which is very delicious. I find it is smoky, so I'm just going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of that. Not too much, because again, until we taste the soup, I'm kind of making it up as we go. Okay? So I've got all the spices. Nothing is sticking yet, right? Nothing is sticking. If something were sticking in this pot, I would add some broth, okay? And it's already smelling amazing, okay? It's already, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like, okay? That's what it looks like so far. We can check on the tomatoes. We need to do that. Let's get the measurements for the, I'm going to say that we need 6 to 8 cups of vegetable stock. I might not have enough, but how will I know? Because this pot holds almost 8 cups. And I want all the vegetables to be covered. And that covered everything exact. So we might need to add a little more liquid as things cook. We'll have to see. If I need more liquid, I'm actually going to use the water from the hominy. Okay? And we're going to get a lid to get that started like cooking. And we're going to check our tomatoes. Oh, we could add our beans now too. I think that would be good. Let's see how many. These are pretty drained. Let me get the right spoon. I have the right spoon back here. 1 can of beans is probably enough. 1 can is 1.5 cups. So usually that's about what goes in a soup of 1 can of beans. If it's not, a bean soup, this is just beans that are going to be floating in there. So, and like I said, these beans are meaty, what I'm going to call heavier beans. They describe them as pinto beans. I'm going to put 1 cup and then another half. I'm not even going to get 1/2 cup measure out. I'm just going to kind of, here it's roughly what I have in this jar. I have another full jar because I cooked 1 pound of beans. I always cook 1 pound of beans because they're always going to get eaten. I go through them in a week usually, and they go onto salads. or they go into breakfast. They go into various things. So see, I have another full jar of beans back here that will get saved. We'll just leave those over here. And we're gonna, so I have almost 2 cups here. I'm gonna say 2 cups. You probably don't need 2 cups. Again, 1 can of beans is approximately uh, a cup and a half, depending on the size of the bean. Okay. Let's check our tomatoes because I don't know what's happening back there, and we need to add those to our soup. And normally I would have started these ahead of time, but I really wanted you to see everything all in motion. I'm losing things. It's not good. This cannot just sit here. Oops, a bean just fell to the ground. Let's just put this little pot, this little towel here. And where did my wonderful little spoon go? Just 1 second. I don't know how I lose a spoon, but it does happen. Okay, well, it will turn up. I'm just smashing these right now. You see, they're kind of just getting all puffy, but they're getting really ready. And they're really, this is where the flavor comes from. And I'm not kidding you. If you do it on a very slow heat, you would end up with what it looks like jam. It's really sweet and delicious. The other day I put roasted red peppers with the tomatoes and I just cooked it down and had basil and made a lovely pasta with them. So I'm just gonna let these cook for a very few more minutes. I'm very anxious to put them in there, but I just want to maybe 5 more minutes, let's just say, in here.
Carol, quick question. Do you use the bean water when you use the can? Would you add that water in, or would you
It
strain it?
depends on the color that beans. If they were the white cannelli beans in the can, I would say, sure, add that water, right? But these beans are black, brown, they're really dark, and the water's really black. And I don't want to color my soup so that it's, I don't know, like a dark, I don't want it to look like black bean soup. I want it to be a soup that has a broth, a tomatoey kind of broth, and the darkness will color it.
Got
So,
it.
so I guess it's just that whatever bean you use, but I will use the hominy water because if I'm short on water, it is just the corn water and it will be delicious with
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the things. Okay? Does that make
Right.
sense?
Totally.
Is there any other questions, Wendy? Because we probably are, I mean, I'm gonna add the tomatoes and I'm gonna add the hominy actually, but
There
it's a
are
good time for questions.
There's another question. It's not necessarily related to cooking, but it is related to the garden. And I know that actually from Ron Weiss, it can be quite a conversation. But the question was, how do you keep the critters from or any other animals away from the garden?
Well, that is a good point. Are we talking about rabbits and deer, those kind of animals, do you think?
I
Or
think
are we
it's more
talking about bugs?
the bugs that just eat all the vegetables, or maybe even birds that might come in, bugs,
Yeah, the
birds.
birds definitely are in the garden all the time. I see them. They're here, definitely. I have a fence around my yard, so I don't get any deer, and I don't really. There are deer a little further away from me, but I don't have deer hanging out in my area where I live. I do have rabbits, but they don't really get through the fence. And more what I worry about are just kind of insects sometimes. But I've tried to strategically. I'm learning. um, what to plant together, which kind of helps. I planted a lot of marigolds this year between my plants, which keeps some of the little insects away, and that seemed to really work and
Mm,
help. But that's my answer.
got it. Good.
Oh, and I have raised beds. And so I'm growing things in boxes and not on the ground where I live. In my neck of the woods here is the soil is very, very, very rocky. My entire yard when I moved here was full of sagebrush.
Mm,
So my soil is the ground. So I have very nice soil that is growing in the raised beds that I really care for and make sure that it's properly, balanced, and that I'm always adding compost that I've made to that bed to, increase its nutrients.
great. That's it on questions.
That's it.
That's
So
it.
I put the hominy in, just so you know. I put that in. The soup is cooking slowly. We are going to add tomatoes. I could add the corn now. I'm going to keep the hominy water close by because why? Because we might need it. I'm just not sure. And and I don't think I need all this corn. This was 2 ears of corn. They weren't too big, actually. They were kind of scrawny. That's kind of what made me think, oh, I should have some hominy. I'm going to leave some of this corn behind and I'll eat it in a salad or at some point, or maybe I'll make like a pumpkin corn hash with some red onions and herbs during the week. I don't know, for breakfast. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to, so I have a little corn left, a little pumpkin left. We're just going to pair those things together because they want to be together anyway. They're part of the three sisters. And I'm going to put the lid on. And what we're going to do before we move on to the next thing is we're going to get those tomatoes. And I think I'm going to use all the tomatoes. It'd be really good to just get this away for a moment. And I'm going to bring this. And of course, I want to have the tomatoes cooking for a longer time, but it's okay. They're roasting, they're boiling like crazy. Can you see them? That they're really literally, this is sauce right here. Like
The
sauce
color
for,
is just gorgeous. I mean,
and the more that it reduces, the more that it cooks, the more that it reduces, the more sweetness that comes out of the tomatoes becomes a jam. And as maybe you weren't at the last show, but I did do the same kind of thing. I had already cooked them down. I always am scraping the side because the longer this pan is in the oven, the more that you get the brownness around the side. And that brownness, when you move the tomatoes around, kind of cleans the pan, which is pretty great. But it also, it's like when you're reducing something, it's the caramelization is hanging around the edge. And I'm just trying to incorporate that into the tomato. Okay. And I didn't peel these tomatoes. People that are very fussy, like here is some tomato skin right here. This would be the perfect thing that would go in your bag. In fact, I don't want to just add it to my compost. I'm actually taking the skin. This one just kind of just slipped off. This is the kind of thing that would go into your freezer for the next time you make. But this not, the skins are pretty much still on. So I'm going to actually save it all. I'm going to put it all in. So we're going to carefully, this pan is hot. The soup pot is hot. I'm trying to be very careful. I'm in tight quarters here. And how much of this, how many, I'm going to say this would be 1 28-ounce can of tomatoes. I'm guessing, I'm guessing based on the volume. Okay. I'm not going to set it into any measuring. I'm just going to pour it all in. Okay. But if you needed a recipe, I'm going to say you need 1 can of 28 ounces. Okay. And this
Carole, it looks so beautiful. And you've got a comment in the chat from Mark, who also says, looks beautiful.
Oh my God. It is like, first of all, at the top, Wendy, if I had to even pick this up to show you, I couldn't do it. I
Just
couldn't
don't.
do it because it's literally like a quarter inch to the top. It reminds me of our friend David, who always makes soup. Every time he makes it, he makes a picture, says, "Look at what I've done." He does it every time. He's at the rim of the thing. This is not typical of me. Um, but if I didn't want it, I could have just not added all that broth earlier, because as soon as we put the tomatoes, they had some liquid, they added volume, and I'm at the total top. So one has to be super, super careful here.
We can see the beauty. The colors, even from here, look absolutely gorgeous. You have another question, which is, will you core the tomatoes? This is for someone who does pull out the skins, but do you core them?
Oh yeah, I did that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe you just didn't see when I was coring them. I took the core out, and yes, you can absolutely take off the skin if you don't like it. Sometimes it gets all curly, and people don't like the skin sometimes. So that's an extra added step, but you certainly could do it. I don't ever bother. I just don't bother, because maybe if I was cooking in a restaurant for somebody, I would bother. But it's just usually me or some friends, and I feel like, you know what, we can all eat the skin. Um, if anybody needs to know how to take off the skin, I'm happy to go over that with you. But please write in the chat that you need to know how to do that, because I'm just assuming either you know, or that I just want to move on to the next thing. I'm going to add the lid to this because we're trying to get this done in a timely fashion. Okay, so that is the soup, and how we could finish it. We can add cilantro at the end. We are going to, let's just taste it for its spices at the moment, because we kind of just made it up as we went along. And who knows, maybe it's too spicy, maybe it's not spicy enough. I'm so tempted to add some chilies to it. I can't tell you how I want to do that, but I'm trying not to. But look at the color, Wendy. It's the color of the broth is so beautiful.
Beautiful.
And it comes from the beautiful broth we made, comes from the tomatoes, and it comes from the spices, right? Because everything we added was red. Oh my God. It's delicious. It is perfect right now. It doesn't need even anything else. It's perfect. It just has to cook. So we
I
must
think
let
we're
it.
all coming over for dinner.
Oh my
Looks
gosh.
like you have
Maybe I
enough.
should bring, if I could travel with the soup, I would bring it to my suko party down the road today. But
Oh,
it's okay. So we're going to move on to the next thing. I think I'm going to keep the garlic close by. This onion was just here as a show and tell, kind of like the size of what an onion would be. And we are going to bring the cutting board back, and we are going to have the soup spoon here. And we're just going to rinse things off a little bit. There's no other questions, Wendy?
no other questions now. I think it's quite engaging just watching you, and that soup really does look good. It also looks simple. You know, it does not look like a complicated soup, and you could sense that these ingredients really do go together. The
And
spinach.
also, I really want to emphasize, because there are many of you who don't like to cook and don't like to shop or don't like to, but the fact is, you have to make some investment, right? If you're going to stay healthy and you're going to like take care of yourself. Look I'm going to have a pot, and I could practically eat this for 5 days if I don't share it with anybody. But the fact is that I gave you a lot of substitutions. You don't have to have the fresh corn. You can buy the frozen corn. You can buy the canned hominy. You don't have to buy the butternut squash and peel it, and you can buy it already cut. You can buy the butternut squash or any kind of squash in the freezer. Okay, so there are so many options that I feel like if you want to do something fast, you can. You don't have to spend the time cutting the onion. You can even buy cut onions if you don't want to. You can buy minced garlic, right? Beans. You don't have to cook the beans like I did. I soaked the beans last night, cooked them today for a number of hours. You don't have to cook the beans. You buy the can of beans and
Carol,
you just
if
make
you
sure that there are no salt beans, and you drain the water if they're dark beans.
if
And you
you
can
are going
use,
to go with, sorry to interrupt, if you are going to go with the can of beans in this particular soup with squash and with the other ingredients, corn, what bean would you use? Black
I
beans, pinto
honestly,
beans?
you know, honestly, Wendy, I use any bean because I love them all. And if you look at a number of recipes from Three Sisters, some people use cannelli beans, some people use the black eyed peas, some people use the black bean, some people use there. You can use any bean you want. If pinto bean is your favorite, if red kidney bean is your favorite, if you only like the white beans, then use the white beans. I probably wouldn't use a chickpea. I don't think that's quite the right bean for this soup, but any kind of hearty bean is, I think, recommended.
Great.
And I think the black eyed peas would be beautiful because they have the little black eyes. And you know, you want to make something. This is fall, and we're into autumn colors, and the trees are turning, and you want to. The soup is going to be reflective of all the beautiful colors, you know, just like what's outside.
Yeah, beautiful.
I don't know. Are the leaves turning by you, Wendy?
Not so much in Central Park yet. However, about a week ago, I went up to the Adirondacks for a hiking trip, which I was just wonderful. It was organized by a plant-based doctor. If anyone's here on the East Coast, it was organized by Dr. Ron Weiss, who has he's a plant-based doctor, and he has a farm called the Ethos Farm. And once a year, he takes his patients up to the Adirondacks for a lovely hike. Anyway, leaves were in peak season up there, Carol, and
Oh.
they were the color of your soup. The leaves were incredible, oranges and reds, and almost like a magenta red from the maple trees that are up there. Just extraordinarily beautiful.
But we're already having deep into fall. We don't have a lot of red trees here. We have a lot of gold trees, and
Mm.
we have a lot of pine trees that aren't losing any leaves because they're pine trees. But I went on a big drive 2 days ago through what we call the Enchanted Circle, and it was spectacular. And I tried to make photos because it's so spectacular, but it's one of those things that a photo doesn't even capture what you're seeing. And it's so powerful on your senses and your eyes that I don't know, I loved it so much. I love this time of year, and
Me
maybe because we both have birthdays in the fall, Wendy. I don't know. I do love this time. Yours has already passed. Mine is coming, but I do love this time of year for what it is. Whether it's a mixture of cold air, warm air, leaves falling, knowing snow is coming. I don't know. It's all exciting.
By the
So,
way, oh, do a quick
yeah.
aside, Dr. Weiss was saying about the pine trees that it turns out, he's also a botanist, and he was saying that as much time that you can spend in pine tree forests, that the pine trees seem to have their odor helps invigorate the natural killer cells in
Oh,
our immune system. And so it's very good for our immune system, not
oh.
just doing forest bathing in general, but particularly around pine trees. It's a good thing to hang out and breathe the.
Oh, that's a cool thing. I didn't know that. I love Ron Weiss myself very much, and I'm glad you had a nice little hike with him. I'm a little jealous, Wendy, but you know what? You're there and I'm here. So what can I say, you know? I'm just peeling a cucumber here. I have a cucumber. I don't like the skin so much on these bigger cucumbers. Sometimes they're a little bit waxy. So I always take a little bit off and I make like a zebra pattern. And if the seeds are big in this, when I cut it, we'll take the seeds out. I actually also prefer these little Persian cucumbers. And I only have one, and I think we need more than this little teeny one. So I had the regular kind, but I prefer this little Persian kind. But while I'm talking to you, I'm just going to slowly dice this cucumber. So what goes into bouilli, maybe many of you already know because it's a common thing, very much like, I would say it's a similar a little bit to Israeli salad, which is tomatoes, cucumbers, and lots of parsley. But what is different about this salad is that it usually has cracked bulgur wheat, and it has chopped tomatoes. It has cucumbers, and then it has lots and lots of parsley. And it usually has olive oil and some lemon juice. But we're skipping the olive oil, which will be fine. We won't miss it, I promise you. And I'm just slowly dicing this, and I'm going to lower this because this is cooking super fast. Oh, my dog just decided, Isla just decided to bark. Sometimes she barks at things that I can't even see outside. I have to tell her to be quiet. Can you wait 1 minute, please? Isla, please no barking. No barking because we have a cooking show. So you cannot bark. Okay? No barking. No barking, okay? You have to be a good girl. Okay. That is the end of the barking. You never know what's happening outside. She hears things that I don't hear. Oh, these seeds are not too big in this cucumber here. Otherwise, I would take them out. So I'm just slicing them, stacking them on each other, making little strips, and I'm cutting them so that they're about 1/4 inch diced, okay? 1/4 inch. I don't really know how many cucumbers I need. It's all going to be about how it looks. Okay. It's all just going to be aesthetics. Maybe I'll have to come back and use more cucumbers. I'm not sure. We do need to have scallions. You could have red onion, but normally it's not. But you could. I brought out this red onion because it's been sitting in my fridge, and I thought I meant to cut it up and throw in the soup actually, but I forgot. Sometimes little odds and ends get, stuck in your refrigerator, and I don't know. It's really good to just get rid of them immediately. So here is a lot of cucumber. We might need this. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll decide, okay? So I cooked quinoa. I made a lot of quinoa actually because I like quinoa in my salads. I like quinoa with my oatmeal in the morning. So I cooked a cup of quinoa. This is 2-color quinoa. It's like brown, maybe it's tricolor actually, but it's not just the beige quinoa. And we've talked about quinoa so many times. I know people don't like it. They say, oh, it tastes soapy, but you always have to rinse it, okay? Only if the package says that it's been pre-washed. I buy it in bulk. I don't know if it's been pre-washed. So I just rinse it always. So I made a cup of quinoa, a cup of dried greens, and I used 2 cups of water, and I put a lid on the pot, and I cooked the quinoa. And I don't know, we have a couple cups, and I have a little bit of quinoa left here. Now I could just make all of it. Let's just do that, I guess. We'll just make it all. I was going to save it because I really love putting a spoonful in my morning oatmeal, but it's so little that I'm trying to save that it seems kind of wasteless, kind of not a good idea. So now we have more quinoa in here. We probably have a generous amount. I'd say if I were to estimate 1, 2, we probably have 4 cups at least, maybe 5. Okay. So we're just going to go with this, and we're going to start adding the things. The things are the cucumbers, right? Again, we're going to see if, I think just looking at it, because I have so much quinoa, I think it's worth doing all this cucumber probably. And then we're going to put tomatoes, but the real flavoring, and we're watching the time. We're doing okay, Wendy. I'm watching the time, just so you know.
We're good.
Just want you to know that I'm not watching the time. that I'm
That's
not. that I'm not watching the time. I'm just, again, when usually we make a bunch of things, you know, these 3 items in a 90-minute time, but because I didn't prep anything and I left it all for us to kind of just cook together, I really like this method of just kind of hanging out and cooking, although it could be somewhat boring for some of you to watch me cut a cucumber. But it is something that has to get done, so we might as well do it. Again, I used a little Persian cucumber and then a regular cucumber, and I took off some of the skin because I'm never a fan of waxy cucumbers. Okay, so that is going to be plenty of cucumber. Okay, we just want to make sure that there's lots of bites of cucumber. Okay, then we need to have garlic in this dish. And I'm gonna say, I have a spoon. I'm gonna say 1 big clove, maybe, you know what? I'm gonna put 2 cloves. Okay, so I'm putting it all. Why am I putting it all? I don't want to put it away. I just don't want to put it away. That's all there is to it. Okay, now we're going to have parsley, and I'm using the Italian parsley, but I have cilantro here that I thought I would top the soup with when it's time. Oh, but we definitely need the onions. So speaking of dirt, Wendy, I have them soaking in this water here because they come out of the ground and they're very dirty. And these are the tops. You can cook with these tops. I added the big tops to the stock, but again, I'm hoping that it's not quite winter here yet. I'm saving these, and as soon as our little demo is over, I'm gonna put them in the dirt, and maybe I'll get another batch of onions too. Another cup. I have not bought 1 onion all summer long. I'm so proud of myself.
I think it's amazing. The picture you showed me of your onions when you had first grown them was just jaw-dropping. It was so cool. And I should clarify, I don't really mind getting my hands dirty when I'm in a garden and having the dirt. It's just city living has me habitually cleaning things up because I don't necessarily like the city dirt in my apartment.
Understood. I don't like, Wendy, the
Garden dirt
windowsill.
doesn't sound so bad.
I remember the windowsills used to be so dirty, right? With the dirt. That's
It's-
kind of gross dirt from the air, right?
Yeah,
But this dirt, I think Ron Weiss would tell us that it's good
absolutely.
for our microbiome
All
and
kinds of things.
and I think also we know that it's good for under our nails, a little dirt.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
when I come in, I always have I always have the, what do you call it? The vegetables in my hands, and I actually have the dog sniff it all. Because her world is through her nose, and
Yeah.
I just want her to. She sees I'm bringing in things, and she was so curious what it is. And so I put it in front of her face so she can smell everything. And of course, there are the aromatics like the basil and the dill that smells so amazingly good. But
Right.
I think she understands what I'm trying to share with her sometimes. She's a smart girl. So these are the onions. I'm putting a lot of onions, right? It looks like a massive amount. It's probably like 1, 2, like probably 3/4 of a cup of onion. I have another gigantic one that looks like a leek. I think I'm gonna save that for another something. I don't know what. I have a number of overgrown ones because I can't keep up. I literally can't keep up with the amount of scallions that I plant because like I said, I run outside and I just literally put the little root it's like recycling, Wendy. It's like you cut the root off and then you run out and put it in the dirt, and then a couple weeks later you've got an onion, and then you cut the root off again and you put it back in the dirt. It's like amazing to me.
Nature's pretty incredible. That's
I
an
know,
understatement.
it's
That's a
amazing,
terrible understatement, but couldn't
but it
resist.
is amazing, right?
Amazing.
It's just it is amazing. Okay,
Well, we
so
get
those
separated from what we're actually doing. And I mean, with At least that's the city in me gets quite separated from nature. So it's nice for me when you get to describe it all happening right then and there.
I know we get removed from things, right, Wendy? Like, I don't know. It's just like we forget that the farmers working hard to bring us all. Like, I thought the city's always amazing with the farmers market because they come 4 times a week just to Union Square. But
Right.
think about all the farmers and that they're all over the place. They're in Bronx, they're in Queens, they're in 4 or 5 other places in Manhattan. And I mean, it's a lot of food and a lot of people, but it's amazing that they're making the trip in, right?
Agreed.
It's just so, you just have to be grateful. And I don't know, I'm always so grateful for that. That maybe I was meant to be a farmer and not a chef, I'm not sure. But I do super appreciate all that hard work and really and unpredictable. So we have tomatoes, right? I had a plant that was called a volunteer plant. And many of you might know, if you're gardeners, what a volunteer is. I planted tomatoes in one box, and then in the middle of my onions and my dill and everything else, suddenly a tomato plant was growing in the middle of it that I didn't plant. And that's called a volunteer. And it just means that the seeds from last summer somehow got in the dirt, and it took it pollinated, it became a plant without me knowing. And suddenly, so I had to kind of make room, and I put a little cage over it so that it would grow. I saw it right away when it was this little, and I thought, oh God, a tomato in the middle of the onions. But I knew that I was pulling the onions out eventually, and that I would be able to have room for this big tomato. So I've gotten these beautiful golden cherry tomatoes that I didn't even anticipate having. So and they're like candy. They're literally like candy. So I'm lucky that I get them inside. I barely can get them inside. I usually just pop them in my mouth. I do try to wear a apron out there that has pockets so that I can just kind of collect them into the pockets and get them inside. But I have a lot of them. A lot of them are still in flowers. They're not even, the actual tomato has not come out. It's kind of like a late bloomer. So we need a lot of tomatoes, and you could use red ones or yellow ones, whatever color you want. These are what I have. So that's what we're using. I'm just using a serrated knife, and I'm cutting them I'm cutting the tomato in half, and then I'm cutting them into smaller pieces. So it's like similar to the cucumber that's about a quarter inch. Now, you can never have enough tomatoes in tabbouleh as far as I'm concerned. If your tomatoes, let's just say you were gonna use a big tomato like this and not a little cherry tomato, you might end up wanting to put this through after you chopped it. You might want to put it in a colander and let some of that water drain, because you don't really want to add water, tomato water necessarily, to your tabbouleh. You want to just add these tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, are very not letting out very much liquid, and that is what we have here. I also have these amazing tomatoes that are like they're not zebra tomatoes, and they're just like salad tomatoes, but they're yellow and red. And for ages, I was thinking they needed to get red, but actually their natural color is green and red. And I'm going to just they have actually more juice, but I'm going to add a few of these because they come in clusters, very big, like 7 or 8 in a cluster. And I have so many that I can't keep up with these one tomatoes, but thankfully they're incredibly delicious. So I'm just going to use them, taking the little tops off. And the last thing we have to do, we still have to, the soup is not quite ready, but I'll show it to you before we sign off. The squash is just cooking a little bit more. Now, this tomato definitely has juice, and I'm going to try to leave some of the juice behind. But this tomato is going in there. You see how much tomato I have? And I'm
Amazing.
just gonna cut it, and again, trying to leave some of the juice behind. Okay, let's just rinse this off. And the last thing that we have to do, and one could do this in the food processor if they wanted. You could chop the parsley and the mint all together. What inspired me to make this salad today was the mint, actually, because I had an entire bag of mint, and I still have quite a bit, but it's starting to die, actually. It's still green, but some of it's brown. So I picked enough of it, and I'm going to say that we need about a cup. Okay, I'm just grabbing a handful. And then I have the parsley here, and I have fresh parsley. Here's the actual parsley that is like right away that I need to, is my new parsley. But it's really important that you try to use what you have, right? And I'm at the end of the parsley. So I'm kind of going to have to give it a couple. And this is what I'm saying. You could put this right into the food processor if you didn't want to chop it. But at this point, I just want to get the dish done, and I want it to be, I don't feel like dirtying anything, and not in the mood for making room for the machine, even though it's just behind me. So we have a generous handful. I'm going to say a cup of parsley and a cup of mint. Okay, packed, and then we're chopping it really fine. We've already got our garlic. The other thing that we need is we need lemons, and I took them out, right? And I need to stir this soup. It's really weird to be like on top. When you're at the stove, the soup is like at the stove and you can walk away. But I have to tell you, it's really weird for me to sometimes be here cooking, and the soup feels like it's so close to me that I'm not used to being on top of the soup while it's cooking. We have a lemon. I'm going to suggest that we zest it. Why am I going to suggest that we zest it? Because we're not putting any salt at all in this dish. And I think the zest is really going to perk up and act as freshening. It's going to taste really, really fresh when we eat this salad. And the zest is going to really bring the flavor of the lemon. We're going to put lemon juice, lots of lemon juice. And look, I have almost a big teaspoon, maybe even more, maybe it's almost close to 2 teaspoons. You could do as much zest as you want. I say every time you open the lemon or the lime, always zest it. So I'm putting that right in there like that. Okay. And we're going to chop this just a little more. And it needs to be pretty chopped. I still see some big leaves. And Wendy, we're almost done. And who knows, until I mix this up, I won't know that we have enough tomatoes, enough herbs. But this is all chopped. This is going in the bowl here. Okay. And all that's left is for us to squeeze at least 1 lemon, maybe 2. I don't know. We don't know. Oh, I have an old lemon over here. Let's use the old lemon first, for sure. Okay, that's an old lemon. Here's the lemon we just zested. I think we'll just use it all. Okay, and let's get the lemon juicer, squeezer out. Before I even mix it, I'm gonna put the lemon juice. So basically we're gonna have 2 lemons. I always use these. You can use some salt and lemon juice to clean your cutting board. I use the lemon and the salt to clean my copper pots. So, whoops. No, Ayla, that's not for you. That's good. She sees an onion on the floor and she walks away from it. She says, it's not what I eat. Okay. You can say hello to everyone when we're done. Okay, we have to finish, Ayla. Sorry, Wendy, that I'm talking to the animal and not you at the moment.
It's a homegrown show. I'm not worried at all, and hopefully our audience will appreciate the
she's
adorable.
usually very quiet. So, well, she's gotten to be a better girl, and she's usually quiet and very good about just sleeping during the but today she's just been totally hanging out. Just
It's
like, it's okay.
it's
Oh my
totally.
God. I cook so much quinoa. I need like 5 people to come. Maybe I'll bring this to the suko party today because it's so much. It's like, how am I going to eat all that? The thing is, you can eat this by itself, the salad, or you could eat it on top of salad, right? It will be delicious on top because then you have your grains, your leafy greens, and your vegetables and all that. But here's this, okay?
Oh my God, it looks great.
So it
I'll
looks great. Let's just taste it. It too, sometimes you can add cumin to it if you'd like, but it's not normally, you don't usually put cumin in it. But, mmm, mmm.
Nice. It looks so fresh.
It's so fresh, Wendy.
Yeah, it looks that way.
It's so fresh. It's like I'm not kidding. Some people would miss like the olive oil, but I don't miss the olive oil at all because there's nothing heavy on it. It's just so yummy. I'm gonna leave this in the bowl. Maybe I'll bring this to the party where I'm going. I don't think I'm gonna plate it, but you can see what it looks like. It's very
Oh, it
beautiful.
looks just great.
And let's just look at the soup, and then you can do your signing off kind of thing. I was going to add we could add a little cilantro. I think because I have it. I don't think you have to have the cilantro in the soup, but I think it's just a nice thing, a little garnish. You could add it when you're serving the soup, but this is the thing. This is what I have left of the cilantro, so I'm just wanting to use it. I don't want to already have new cilantro and new parsley already ready for me during the week. But I just wanted today to get rid of all the ends of what I had. And I am tempted to cut that red onion and just put it in this salad. I might do that afterwards because I'm not putting that red onion back in the fridge. That's for sure. Okay, I'm leaving some of the stems behind there and just chopping this. We just chopped the parsley on it, so it's just fine. And I see something odd there. I don't know what that is. Okay, and we're just gonna throw the soup looks amazing. Let's just check it before you leave me, Wendy, and do all the announcements. Let's just check how the squash is doing because that's all we're waiting for. And you can really see that the squash is getting done. I'm just going to put it in a bowl, Wendy, while you're doing your announcements so we can see it. But I do want to, let's just taste one squash. I have a feeling it needs to cook just a little bit more, but we'll see. See, it's soft. It is soft. Mm. It is firm, but not hard. And it's definitely edible right this minute.
Wonderful.
Definitely edible. And I guess what's good is if I don't overcook it, then when I reheat the soup during the week, I'll have it. So I'm going to just put it in a bowl so you all can see it. And then you sign off with what you need to say, Wendy. And then we're done.
That sounds great. Do you want me to do the announcement? Well, I guess I'll do the
Yeah,
announcements.
if you do the announcements, I'll get a bowl and I'll just
Okay.
serve up.
We're good. So first and foremost, thank you everyone for coming and for joining us. It's such a pleasure really having you and sharing this way of eating because as you know, we're up against a whole culture that eats differently. So it's nice having our tribe here and experimenting and doing things, with all of us and enjoying this way of life. So I'm just quickly going to repeat some of the events that Plant Power Metro New York has coming up this month and some this week. Do go to our website because there's more than I'm just mentioning. But tomorrow night we have an introduction to plant-based eating for Spanish speakers. 16th we have an Eating for Impact event that is plant-based cuisine for human and planetary health. It should be quite interesting. Wonderful guest speaker. The 17th, we have healthy swaps, which are easy exchanges for people having to manage their blood sugar. And then at the end of the month, a very interesting talk on nutrition and blood cancers, insights from emerging research. I do want to say to you that I was visiting my friend at Sloan Kettering, and the first edition of their news magazine came out. And lo and behold, the cover, as soon as you turn the cover page, there was a picture of Dr. Urvi Shah, who is a research doctor at Sloan Kettering, who is working with using whole food plant-based nutrition in early stage blood cancers, myeloma, blood cancer, and having quite a bit of success. So anyone who this issue is relevant, even if it's not, I highly recommend that night. It should be quite interesting here on October 29th. Please go to the website, our homepage, where you'll find all the details about the events. And please join us for all the events. If you live in the area, there's some in-person events and meetups coming up this month as well. And then, of course, a virtual one. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you joined us. Please join us again in November. Carole, if you need to reach her, can be reached at Carole at thevegievanguard.com. And she's also on Instagram at thevegievanguard.com. And if you'd like, please consider a donation to PPMNY so we can continue to do our best work in communities, which is where we are working quite heavily in all the New York boroughs, also in Long Island and in New Jersey. And then we have people across the country, like many of you, who tune into our shows. We usually don't charge for our events, so we're a not-for-profit, and all donations are welcome. Okay. I didn't mark the date of our next demo. I know it's in November. So
November 9th, Wendy. November 9th.
Right around the corner. So please join us again. Please join us also for these off-the-cuff times, which I know I really enjoy because it's mostly how I end up cooking as well, just whatever's in the house. All right, that's it. Carole, you read? Oh, wait.
Here we are. We're done. I just want to show you the tabbouleh. Here's the tabbouleh with the quinoa. So it's gluten-free for any gluten-free friends. And here's our soup. And it looks amazing. And the pot of soup looks more amazing than the bowl of soup because it's the pot of soup that has all the bits, the soup has the bits in it too, but it's just like, this is what looks awesome. And the few purple potatoes I put in there, I'm kind of glad they're just in there. They add a little color and they go with the beans, and you got yellow. And I like that I have the hominy and the regular corn together. It was a good idea. And it's all kind of, spontaneous. We just made it up as we went.
Amazing, Carole. It really is a fall banquet there between the soup and then the tabbouleh, which can go with so much. I do want to also say, as we say goodbye, a special and wonderful thank you to Jim Spellos, who's behind the scene with us, who's our producer of the show. And thank God he is running the tech, because I know nothing about any of that. So thank you, Jim. Always great having you. And thank you to all of you who are here. I think
thank you for coming. I'd love to have you back, Wendy. And we always thank Jim because he's amazing for us, and we're a team. And we will see you on November 9th. And happy cooking and happy fall.
Sounds good. Bye,
Come
everyone.
on down, step right in. Carole's Kitchen, where we begin. See what's cooking, something new. Plant-based power just for you.